Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we're going to dive into the absolutely incredible story of Linux. We're going to trace how a simple hobby project from a student back in 1991 completely took over the world and became the invisible backbone of, well, pretty much everything.
All right, let's just jump right in by looking at the world we live in today. It's almost impossible to overstate how influential Linux is. It's literally hiding in plain sight, powering the devices and systems you use every single day, whether you know it or not.
I mean, just think about the internet itself. Get this, a staggering 96.3% of the world's top 1 million web servers run on Linux. So yeah, that means pretty much every website you visit is being served up to you by this open source powerhouse.
Okay, how about that phone in your pocket? Well, there's a good chance you're using it right now. 85% of all smartphones run on Android. And the core of Android? Yep, you guessed it, it's the Linux kernel.
And this one's just mind-blowing. When we're talking about the most powerful computers on the planet, its dominance is absolute. Every single one of the world's top 500 supercomputers runs on Linux. That's 100%, not 99.9, all of them.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth did a free project started by just one person grow up to become arguably the most important piece of software in the world? Well, to answer that, we got to rewind the clock way back.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1991. We're in Finland at the University of Helsinki, and there's this computer science student who's just completely fed up with the operating systems he has to use at the time. And this is the now famous message he posted to an online news group. You can just feel the humility in his words, right? Just a hobby. He makes it clear it won't be big and professional. He had absolutely no idea he was planting the seed for a global revolution. It's just wild.
And hey, here's a little bit of trivia for you. He actually thought calling it Linux was way too egotistical. His preferred name was Freaks, but when he uploaded the files to a server, the administrator, without even asking, renamed the directory Linux because, let's be honest, he thought Freaks sounded pretty awful, and the name just stuck. But here's a super important point. Linus didn't just magic this thing up out of nowhere. He was building on decades of incredible foundational work in computing. He was, as they say, standing on the shoulders of giants.
You can see the path right here. You've got Unix way back in '69, which laid out all the core ideas. Then you have Richard Stallman's GNU project in '83, which had this amazing goal of building a completely free OS. And right before Linux, there was Minix, an OS that Linus himself used for learning, but he found it, well, pretty limiting. And this really gets to the why of it all. Minix was designed for teaching. It was simple. But Linus had this new, powerful 386 processor, and he wanted to build something real, a full-fledged OS that could take advantage of it. And most importantly, he wanted something that was totally free and open for anyone to contribute to, which Minix wasn't.
Okay, so this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Linus had created a kernel. That's the core, the absolute heart of an operating system. But a kernel alone can't do anything. He'd built a really powerful engine, but an engine by itself doesn't go anywhere, right?
So what did he do? He put it out there on the internet, just over 10,000 lines of code. And with it came an open invitation for any other developers out there to take a look and, lend a hand.
And Linus do this himself. In his release notes, he basically said, look, a kernel by itself gets you nowhere. It's just the engine of the car. You still need the wheels, the steering wheel, the seats, the whole thing. And that's where the GNU project came in.
See, the GNU project, they had built all the other car parts. For years, they'd been creating high-quality free tools, compilers, shells, libraries, everything except for a kernel. Linus had a powerful new engine with no car, and they had a car with no engine. It was a perfect match. And that's why, to this day, many people refer to the complete system as GNU/Linux. But maybe the single most important decision came in 1992. Linus decided to release his kernel under the GNU General Public License, the GPL. This was a game changer. It legally guaranteed that Linux and any work based on it would always remain free and open. It's basically a pay-it-forward license. And that, right there, is what created this incredible feedback loop of innovation that's still going strong today.
And of course, you can't tell the story of Linux without talking about the mascot. The famous penguin, Tux, showed up in 1996. Apparently, the whole idea came from Linus remembering a trip to a zoo in Australia where he got gently nipped by a little penguin.
So now you've got all the pieces, the kernel, the community, that game-changing license, and things were about to just explode.
let's take a look at how this little project grew into the massive ecosystem that we see all around us.
So fast forward to 1994, and we get the first official release, Linux version 1.0. Now look at that growth in code from just over 10,000 lines to more than 176,000. And all of that came from a growing global community of volunteers.
This explosion led to something called distributions, or distros for short. Think of them like different flavors or models of the same core system. They packaged the Linux kernel together with all the GNU tools and other software, each with a different focus, like Red Hat for big companies or Ubuntu, which made it super easy for anyone to get started.
And that brings us right back to today. We're talking way beyond just servers and supercomputers. From Hollywood blockbusters, where it powers 90% of special effects, to launching actual rockets into space with SpaceX, and the cloud, the entire digital world we live in, 90% of it runs on Linux. It's just everywhere.
So let's just put this whole journey into perspective for a second. It started with one person and just over 10,000 lines of code. Today, the Linux kernel is a global collaborative effort of nearly 30 million lines of code. It's just a stunning testament to the power of sharing and working together.
And in the end, I think the story of Linux is this incredible, powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest revolutions start small. They start with one person, working on what they call just a hobby, who decides to share it freely with the world. It proves that one project really can make all the difference.